sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.
Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. This is Steve with SCOARTGLASS, and glad you can join us today. I'm really excited about this artist spotlight interview today. This person is really a truly badass when it comes to stained glass. If you like the content on the channel, be sure to hit that like button below and subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you get notified of the future artist spotlight interviews and when I go live and when I load new video tutorials to the channel. I do have a goal to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If you want to help, please share that information or share the channel link to others that might be interested in stained glass, and hopefully I can reach that goal by the end of this year. And if you want to support the channel in another way, you can check out the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description below. This is where you can go and see some of the extras that I have there, or just simply buy me a coffee. I appreciate the support. This helps me ensure that I can continue to bring these live streams and stained glass tutorials to the channel as well. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started here. And like I said, I'm really excited about this interview. I'm going to play a short introduction to this wonderful stained glass artist, and then we will jump right in. So here we go.
If you ever wanted to meet a badass in stained glass, Hannah Gregory with Badass Stained Glass is the one to meet. Hannah comes to us from Swansea, Wales in the UK via Fremantle in Western Australia. Hannah is currently a resident artist at Wales University and is exploring new techniques to use in her stained glass artwork, such as sandblasting, acid etching, and medieval painting techniques. Hannah has a strong presence on Instagram and enjoys discussing stained glass with others and shares her experience with others to ensure that this medium doesn't die out. Hannah produces beautiful stained glass artwork with a modern twist using the traditional stained glass techniques. Please help me give a warm SG Live welcome to one badass stained glass artist, Hannah Gregory.
Hey, how you doing, Hannah? Welcome to the channel.
I'm here.
Yeah, you're here. Awesome. Great. Welcome. I'm so glad you can join us all the way from Wales in the UK. Wow.
Well, thank you. Thank you for reminding me where I am.
So how is what's a 5-hour difference over there, correct? From the US?
Yes, it is. So
great. Okay.
Coming up to dinner time sometime soon.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So awesome. Well, I guess tell us a little bit more about yourself, and we'll jump into our discussion on how you became from Fremantle, Australia to to the UK. So go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. Where do I start? So I'm over here to do an artist residency at Swansea College of Art, which is run through the University of Wales. And I was offered a residency placement here that was due to start at the beginning of last year. But then this small little pandemic thing happened. I don't know if you heard about it. So I've kind of been extended to be here for, I guess they're just, as long as they'll have me. They seem to not mind me having me there, and they're very accommodating. So yeah, I'm there to do a residency in stained glass. I focus in leaded lights, and I'm kind of just there to explore all these different techniques I don't really have an opportunity to explore in working with in Australia, because we're such a younger country. The history of stained glass is not so extended, and I mean not as much depth to the techniques available to explore and learning opportunities. So I'm kind of over here soaking up as much as I possibly can to learn as much as I can to make my work the best that it can be, to get as many people as interested in stained glass as can be possibly interested in it.
Oh, awesome. Well, so with you guys being over there now, and well, let me take that. Too many little gadgets open here.
I think you're doing really well. I don't know.
So kind of getting into how you ended up over there. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, why why Wales University? Why, you know, there are all different universities throughout the world. How did you end up there?
Well, it's quite interesting. So the Swansea College of Art, it has a really rich history with stained glass. It's one of the only institutions in the world that offers a dedicated stained glass program. So there's just so many luminaries that, you know, amazing glass artists that I look up to, like Amber Hiscott and Mark Angus, who all went there. And they really made a name for their college, I guess, at the time where there was this real big second wave of stained glass. And so it's always been something that, I don't know, I kind of have heard spoken about in kind of this, you know, hush special tone, you know, like, oh, Swansea, oh, someone went to Swansea, you know, back in Australia. And then, so I think because it has this dedicated glass program there, which you might get glass programs in other universities in the world when you're doing a fine arts degree, but this one being a dedicated architectural glass program means that it really is focused. And I guess it would have been just a dream of mine to go there at any point in time, let alone be the artist in resident there. So through sheer luck and also harassing people endlessly, I think I've ended up over here and being able to be nominated for this position and as the artist in resident for the year, which is now 2 years, to be here and explore as much as I possibly can, but in this dedicated stained glass department.
So what was the process kind of like to, you know, become a resident artist and so forth like that?
So it really was, I don't know, it's a bit of a convoluted story. Like everything in life, everything falls into place in a certain way, and then so you're somewhere totally new. But I had moved to Sydney from Western Australia to try and get ahead with working with stained glass. There wasn't any opportunities to learn beyond, you know, the hobbyist courses in Western Australia. So I went to Sydney based simply on the fact that this lovely lady, Leonie Lecornu, had told me that she would teach me the basics on one of her weekend courses in return for me doing some puttying for her. So I went and then I learned, and then obviously straight away I was hooked. So I kind of worked in different studios for free at first, getting the knowledge of working and the skills with it. And then I would work catering at night to earn money, because it was one of those things where you couldn't get a job unless you had the skills, but you couldn't get the skills unless you had a job, because there's no higher education institution in Australia offering, at the time there wasn't, offering with stained glass. So I really just worked as much as I could, and I really just got to this point where I was taken on by the artist that I just admired the most, Jeffrey Hamilton, who's still my mentor, and I worked with him for a couple of years and he was great. And we're just getting to this point where I was going to learn painting on glass, and then really take my career, I felt, to the next step. And then my father passed away, so then I moved back to where it all started again, as life is. And I thought, well, I can't, you know, I'm not going to let this stop me from really moving forward and keeping the momentum that I've got with wanting to learn and this real passion of feeling like painting on glass, and that real medieval technique to it was the next step that I really, really wanted. And I just missed out. So I went, you know, that was going to be the first time I was going to swear, but I didn't. I thought, stuff it. I'm just going to, you know, contact artists that I love, and I'm just going to like see who will take me on and teach me if I can be taught and I can learn. And I emailed 2 artists that I love a lot, which are Mark Angus and Amber Hiscott. And I said, if I come to Austria and if I come to Wales to learn from you guys, will you teach me something? And they both said yes. I you know, I'm forever so grateful to them. And then while I was with Amber Hiscott in Swansea in Wales, I was introduced to Rodney Bender, who was the former program director for the architectural glass course at Swansea University. And he said, oh, if there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. And me being me, I said, well, what can you do to help me? You know, like, because he's Australian as well. So I kind of was straight in there. And I was like, you know what, you know, everyone's, you know, you leave and then we've got this whole glass industry like back home, the stained glass industry that's dying because wonderful artists like you aren't here. So that, you know, what can I do? And he just kind of said, oh, well, we do. They used to do residencies there, so maybe I'll contact them and I'll see, you know, if they're thinking about taking on any more residents. And then it was a process of him talking to the new program director, Kath Brown, and then me getting like kind of nominations from stained glass artists in Australia and in the UK, in Europe, just saying, I think if you gave this person a year-long residency, I really think that they would make the most out of it, and I really think that they have a desire to learn, and I really think that they are someone who will promote the craft and will give everything they can to the craft. So I think based on that, then they offered me like the 1-year placement to come and to just immerse myself in everything, and I hope that that's been a worthwhile investment to everyone that that thought that I would use the time well.
Well, I mean, just from the artwork that you have produced, and I've been following you on Instagram for a while, and that work is just phenomenal. And all the different things that you are, looking at and doing and trying out, and all the different, techniques and so forth like that, experimenting with, and learning, and it's just great. I mean, I'm just in awe of everything that you've been doing, and hope that I can even get a glimpse to that level, even just in my lifetime, because your work is just amazing to me. So,
thank you so much. Everyone can do it. You just have to just not have a life.
And I mean, you've done a lot of projects, and it looks like while you've been over there, you've been going places and traveling around and looking at stained glass, I guess throughout churches and so forth like that.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about that experience, being able to be over there and be able to experience that.
Yeah, well, that's been really amazing. I mean, just I think people maybe take it for granted when they're from a country as white people are a lot shorter in Australia than, say, for example, this whole length of English people living over here forever and ever. So churches and things like that are relatively new and introduced into Australia with colonization. So just having churches here that are so old just isn't something that you have in Australia. So having this medieval glass isn't something that that we just have back home. So for me, I just think people don't realize that live here, like you walk past the church every day. And for me, I'm like, that's longer than, colonization in Australia. This church is older than all of that. So I just we try to, like, Chris and I, we try to go around and see as many churches as we can in Wales. So that's been great. But then I was really quite fortunate last year to also get to go to Germany and check out some beautiful Chagall windows. That was just they were just so beautiful. I mean, I just like walked into the space, and it just makes you want to cry. Like, it's so the ability of working with the material that, I don't know, works with light is just, it's so powerful when harnessed in a particular way. And that's been lovely. And I'm still fingers crossed, hoping to get to more places in Europe to visit more sites. I'm really excited to go to Ireland and see like the Harry Clark windows there. And there's just so much that I want to see, but I think even as restrictions with COVID is being lifted, I still want to be really mindful of doing the right thing. So for the minute, even this week, we did a couple of road trips to see some beautiful windows. And I think, well, a lot of people in the world are still locked up. I do my best with my dodgy camera on my phone to take videos for everyone, so I can try to be like, I'm sorry, but here you go, you can see as well.
Oh, great. I mean, I love them because, I've never really experienced that type of stuff myself yet. So it's been really nice to be able to see those and what you're experiencing, what you're going to go see, because here in the States, we don't have those old churches and everything else either, So, it's been pretty nice to be able to see that level of glass and architecture that's been in existence since medieval times. So that's just one.
So yeah, just so old. I'm just like, how did you? I can't even wrap my head around it.
yeah, comprehend how in the world did they do it back then? I mean, Wow.
Well, I mean, they used to mix their glass paint with urine, and that's a big thing. I'm glad that that's phased out. But now we use vinegar to keep the glass. When I mix the glass paint that I fire in the kiln, vinegar is most commonly used because it gives it a bit more grip, or we can mix gum arabic in to give it that real grip. But back in the day, they didn't have that, so apparently urine was the way to go to give it that grip.
That was something I never even knew. Wow.
Medieval times, eh?
Oh yeah, medieval times. I guess you do what works, I guess. So have you done some commission type artwork for people locally in Wales that since you've been there? Or I came across, and I couldn't tell if was the Jervis Brewing Company, was that in Wales or in Europe, or is that back in at home?
That was probably a bit confusing because that was back home, but I used to live in Sydney, which is New South Wales.
Okay.
So I think that was back there. When I was here, it was supposed to be largely just focused on like experimentation within my residency. But then I was fortunate enough to be someone got in contact with me about the Library Wagon Commission, and I really saw an opportunity to like combine experimentation and things that I was learning while still working on a commission. So I took that one on board, but largely I really am trying to most of the time focus on experimentation rather than working on a commission basis over here. Because I think that's really the most the biggest value of my time right now, is while I have access to all of these facilities, is really just trying to experiment. And if something comes on that is kind of swims with the experiments that I'm doing, then I take that on. But mostly for the minute, I'm experimental.
Well, I mean, I went to your website, and everybody links to Hannah's website and her Instagram channel will all be in the description below. So make sure you check those out. But I do want to put up the Jervis one because I'm a beer fan. I love beer. And when I saw all the taps, I saw all the taps and then a nice piece of stained glass all above it, I was like, that would be like heaven for me. So I'm going to show this one real quick. I'm going to throw it up here. So I mean, that is just unbelievable, that work. I know the picture is not as clear as I would want it. But I mean, two octopuses around a beer. I mean, the thought of that is just phenomenal. I love it. What inspired you to create something of that sort?
I was actually so lucky. It was sort of a friend of a friend, like, when you first kind of getting your larger commissions, I think it's always through someone who knows someone at the start. And yeah, a lovely guy called Ben got in touch with me, who's one of the owners of that brewery. And he just said, we're opening up this brewery, and we were thinking we could get stained glass behind the bar, and that would be pretty cool. And I thought, oh yeah, that's really cool. And they're a really great brewery as well. They really care about community and environmental sustainability. So I really saw that, I mean, as much as is possible for me, I'd love to always, well, actually as much as possible, I would only ever do work for people whose values are in line with mine. So I thought, oh, that's great. Like I'm kind of coming up, and these guys are kind of coming up, and, it would be great to collaborate on something. So yeah, we spoke about it, and it's actually, so they're not octopus, they're giant cuttlefish, which are, they're native to only 2 regions. No, it's fine. They're giant cuttlefish, and they're native to only 2 regions in the world. And that area of New South Wales, Jervis Bay, is one of the only areas in the world that is native to having giant cuttlefish. So we kind of went, oh, well, we'll do that then. So it's this whole like kind of homage to the area. And yeah, it kind of just, I don't know. It just kind of like flew away and just really took its own. I love lead lines, and I love things being so flowy. So for me, like instantaneously having the idea of these tentacles coming around a beer, I was like, oh, I love this.
And having the beer glass center was perfect.
Well, people's eyes, they love symmetry. You could just have, there's just so many little things I want to do on Instagram to, like suggestions for designing for people, because I know that's something they really struggle with. And definitely something is like, just draw something that you like, as simple as it is, and then fold it over and then just copy it and then just make that a window. And that's just like, your eyes love symmetry. And that's just an idea right there. And it just kind of doing things like that really help. But you're writing it down now.
I'm writing.
Yeah,
fold in half.
Fold in half.
Symmetry.
Well, it's just doing really simple things like that. You learn all about color as well, because if you just have like a circle there, and then when you fold it over, you find your circle overlaps. You go, oh, well, I'll have a light blue, and then when the circle overlaps, there's this dark blue, and then you're learning about creating depth in your glass. And then, yeah, eyes just love symmetry. If you're ever in doubt, just make something symmetrical, and people love it.
Wow. You could teach a master class. Look at that. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's it. That's my master class. So draw something, fold it in half. There you go. We're all amazing artists now.
Awesome. Oh, wow. Well, how about this? I mean, it's great that everything's been going great for you, and being over there. Let's talk a little bit about what kind of your family and a background, what really got you into stained glass?
What got me into it? Well, I think there's obviously a large sort of maritime aquatic influence in a lot of work that I do. And I think that comes from growing up by the coast and having a family that's all very invested in the ocean. I was lucky to grow up with two dads who are both fishermen, and I think having that influence, but also having not having brothers, so having kind of men in my life that really empowered me to feel like comfortable with tools and to feel like I can do anything as good as men can do in maybe things that are more traditional as a trade. So especially in Australia, stained glass, I would say, is much more of a male dominated industry than even I've noticed in the UK. And I think it is largely to do with aspects of confidence around tools and things like that. So I definitely think a background of being empowered in that way helped lead me down this path that ended up being very very glass orientated. But I think it was just the realization of wanting to always working with art and always doing my own little experimental things, whether it was photography or painting or anything odd at all that I could get my hands on. Meanwhile, working in bars and traveling and just I kind of reached the point where I was like, oh, if that's my life, if I just do my own little creative projects and I just work in nice venues with nice people, and I just travel around, and that's my lot, then I'm happy and I'm very lucky with that. But then I really thought that I would love to do something practical and creative at the same time, and I think that for me is just where this love of stained glass comes from. And that's why I'm so, as much as I love experimentation, what that can lead to, and as much as I love the idea of having smaller, very important artisan pieces that I can put out into the world, there's just something about durable architectural glass work and the combination of the fragility of glass with a lasting structure and lead, and that combination of things that I think really appeals to me in this idea of strength and fragility being a combination of things. And I think that would relate back to everything to do with my life. I think all great things are a combination, all great people are a combination of strength and fragility and harnessing those. And so I guess from a very philosophical point of view, that's why I love glass.
Okay, awesome. So the influence, you talked a little bit about a light bulb moment.
Oh yeah,
that you got into stained glass.
Yeah, that was my only light bulb moment I've ever had, and ironically, a light bulb, probably made of glass, isn't it? So it's all there, isn't it? But I did.
Hey.
I know. I was just sitting out the back of my parents' place, and I just went, I want to do something that I can be creative and I can learn. And I think the goal at the time also was to do something creative that I could learn while I was getting paid. But I think, I had to kind of work while not getting paid, at least to start with, to get into stained glass. But I was just sitting out the back and I thought, I could be a mechanic. I like that idea. I guess building motorbikes maybe would be something creative, and I could learn to do that. And then I just, I went, stained glass windows. I was like, how are they made? And I had no idea. Like I had no idea they were even lead. I just went, I know that's what I want to do, without knowing anything else other about them at all. I just went, that's what I want to do. And then I just have not stopped.
Yeah. Do you ever find yourself when you're when you're just looking at things and you're going out, and you see different scenes or you see different items, do you ever just catch yourself imagining, how could I make that in stained glass? Or how could I bring that to fruition in the glass? I find myself doing that at times when I see different things. And I'm like, I wonder if other artists feel that way. Looking it through a stained glass image or a stained glass, vision in a sense. Do you ever feel yourself doing that?
It's almost like you've got this secret. You bring your stained glass like glasses on and you see
glass.
I do definitely feel like that. I feel like that sometimes when I see particular things, but I think a lot of the times I might it's more, I'll have like a feeling and I'll go, how could I, and I'll go, what could I make that might share this feeling with someone, or, if I have a thought and I'm like, I want people to think about this. What can I make that would get people to think about this? But that's a bit harder in stained glass. But I definitely see things and I go, but then the problem is I need to write them down, don't I? Because I forget.
Right.
I forget. I would tell you all the things that, I do it all the time, Steve, but I just, it's all top secret. So I can't tell you all the things that I don't remember.
Yeah, that's my problem. I fail to write them down because I'll see it and I'm like, that would look so pretty, or that would look so cool in stained glass. And then I forget to write it down. And then it may come back to me like a month or 2 months later, and I'll still forget to write it down because I got other stuff.
You got it though. I think it's so I think there's there's so many artists doing a lot of amazing things, but there does seem to be a lot of, maybe it comes from a lack of confidence, but there is a lot of repeated designs sometimes. And I think I always would rather do something of my own that doesn't look as good than do something of someone else's that looks like a great imitation.
Yeah. I struggle sometimes, me personally, with, coming up with things to make. So I do seek out inspiration from, others, from photos, from, different things. I like doing, or I should say, I like doing scenery type items. So right now I'm working on a Mount Fuji project.
Yep.
And everything. But, scenery, I don't know, I seem drawn towards scenery type items. And, there's so many photos out there on scenery photos and everything. Yeah. But, trying to imagine my own scenery is kind of difficult. So that I seek inspiration from photos and so forth like that. How do you seek your inspiration for the artwork that you, I guess, really inspire to want to create and, for the masses?
I think for the masses.
Masses of Instagram.
Don't give me that godlike complex. I don't need it. I will say though, on what you're saying though, is I think there's so many ways to interpret maybe doing scenery. So for me, something how I might approach something like a Mount Fuji panel or something. I actually have a funny story because I went with some friends to Japan and we went to go see Mount Fuji, but it was covered in clouds and we didn't see it. So we always call it Mount No Fuji. But what I would do would be with something like that, I suppose, is I would probably maybe read history up on something, or if I found photos of Mount Fuji, I might take it from more of an abstract idea and like zoom in really on photos to like kind of would find like this really nice like area of where the, you know, the rock meets the lava or the trees or the white or the clouds. And then I would maybe be quite odd and, you know, make a panel that's called Mount Fuji, but there wouldn't be a mountain in there. But for me, it would be that it would represent that. So I guess like I think my design process comes from, well, it depends if I'm working with, like I always like to say in collaboration with a client rather than working for a client, because I really value everyone that I've worked with. And I like it to be a collaborative effort. So I guess there are some sort of considerations that I'll give towards that process and the inspiration behind making a window that is actually going to live with someone and not with me. But I have also been so lucky that I'm always kind of given free rein. I think that's great, because I kind of feel like if people approach me for a commission, I really feel like they are approaching me for me and my approach and the way that I work with glass. So I think there is a lot of trust in that and in my process. And when I do approach a design, it largely does come from my interaction with the client and feeling like, you know, I might have an image or they might say, oh, this is the sort of thing that I want. But then I do always have like quite an interaction with someone that I'm doing commission for. And I really get the sense of what they're wanting to bring into that space for themselves. So I kind of base my design around also like a feeling, like is someone really wanting something calming in their space? So, you know, or is someone wanting something that really is going to brighten up their space? So it's like, it's as much in these moods and these feelings and these words as the actual imagery for me when it comes to designing. And I think that's something that when people ask me about design, I really want them to think about, and I think would give people more confidence if they thought, you know, if I'm just doing, you know, like a leaf and, you know, what do I want this? It sounds weird, but like, what do I want this leaf to be? Is this like an autumn leaf and is it representing like a change in life and that will influence the colors and the season and the area of the world? Or am I wanting this to be a fresh leaf and this is like expressing something new and exciting? And it's kind of like wrapping your head around the idea that you can have the confidence to express a thought within something that might just seem like an image, you know what I mean? So I guess I approach all my designs like that, I think.
That's an awesome perspective. No, it's a great perspective on how to approach, you know, design, especially, you know, within stained glass and really just in art in general, you know. That's awesome. Wow. That's a kind of a wow moment for me to hear you, you know, state all that and really looking at the perspective of going into it and what, you know, what type of feeling you want it to express, not only look like, but maybe exuberate out, you know, when somebody looks at it, feeling coming out of it.
Because I think that's what people connect with as well. I think all people will have in the artists and the art that they like and they connect with, they will have some sort of abstract or surreal artist that they like, and we will all connect with things and we won't be able to say particularly why we connect with that piece of art. So I do think if we can like really hone in on a feeling to what we're making, I think that is something that will resonate with people. So I think that is as important as making something look like it is that I think I like to make things feel as they are rather than look as they are, because I think if you put something as it feels, someone will feel that, whereas you might make something as it looks and someone will go, oh, that's an apple, you know, and that will be all that they have with that apple. But if you make something that for you, like, you know, represents, you know, the feeling of biting into an apple after you've like just come out of the ocean and you're all mouth's all salty and then you have the apple and it's great, and you kind of like, you have that and you make that into a window, then there's something in that might someone go, oh, wow, like, yeah, like, wow, that feeling, like, you know, we all have that crisp feeling somewhere in our lives restored in our brains. So I think getting the confidence though of being like, I can express a feeling rather than just an image is something that I think takes a lot of time. And I would love to see more people in the glass community really feeling confident in being like, you know, I can do something pretty weird here.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about what got you really hooked. I mean, I know when I got hooked, I mean,
Mhm.
you feel it. You feel it when you get hooked. And I got hook, line, and sinker after I created my first piece, when I really just
Mhm.
dove into it and said, okay, I want to try this out and I want to get into
Mhm.
it. I've tried other hobbies. I've done pottery, and stuff,
Mhm.
but nothing really. But after my first project, I mean, it was like, you're hooked into this,
Yeah.
and I love it. Have you had that feeling in stained glass? I mean, I know
Oh.
you had your aha moment, but was there a piece that just kind of like, that's a hook? You're in it for.
I just like, I've definitely had those moments, but I've definitely also had more, less like with moments within my glass career, but not necessarily moments with glass. I think with the people that I've been around. So I think there was definitely a hooked moment more in the sense of defiance of, unfortunately, a lot of the first experiences that I had of working with glass were in quite a trade like setting, and a lot of it's kind of wham bam, making lead lights, putting them in houses, and me just going, oh well, I'm going to work creatively with it, and I'm gonna I'm gonna make this, and I'm gonna make this big David Bowie window, and I'm gonna be, and people kind of being like, well, you never get anywhere working with it creatively. Like, you won't be able to make money, you won't be able to survive doing that. Like, this is the way that the job's done, and it's treated like, like plumbing or anything like that. Like, it's kind of like, you get in, you do what you got to do for the house, and you install it. So I think one aha and hooking moment for me is just kind of like, well, people telling me I can't do something. I'm like, well, who are you? So I think
Right.
my first experience is people telling me that I can't. That got me hooked, of me being like, well, now watch me do it better than you, watch me do it quicker than you, watch me take it further than you. So that was definitely, but I wouldn't say that's more material based. And then I think I definitely had another moment of being hooked when, I was really lucky to be taken on by my mentor, Jeffrey Hamilton, and seeing his creative process and seeing how he is that person who has made a living off doing it well and doing it creatively. So I think seeing that can happen, and the quality of work that he was producing and still is producing, and just watching, him doing these huge charcoal drawings of what he wanted the window to look like and being very expressive. For me, that was like, I was hooked in this idea of like, well, I can do this.
Right.
And then I think lastly was when I first started going out and making work on my own, because I was working in other people's studios for such a long time to really get my skill set to as near to perfect as I hope it could be, that when I first went out and started painting on my own on glass and doing my first big projects with just my vision, I think that was for me just going like, it's the confidence thing. It was, like, I'm hooked, but also not only am I hooked, but I can do this, like, and I will do this.
Cool. That's awesome. With the pieces that you create, which do you kind of enjoy more? It seems like you lean more towards lead than the Tiffany method. But why don't you tell us about your experience using lead versus the Tiffany method?
Well, I'm all about lead. So I mean, there's so many people I've got such admiration for with working with copper foil, especially on Instagram. That's really popular, especially a lot of people from North America working with it. I think for me, lead is really the my love, because I think there is, like, again, with what I said, my love with stained glass comes from being able to work glass into architecture in such a durable way, in the same way that I feel overcome when I walk into churches or spaces that have this beautiful stained glass work, and it's glazed into the building, and it's working with the natural world, and it can survive the elements, and the concept of having things there that will be there long after I'm gone. That really appeals to me. So for me, that's only really it's only really capable with lead. Like, there's copper foils and the Tiffany method, same thing, people call it different things. Is like, there's so much beautiful potential for that, but it will always be an interior work, and I am still interested in having things that can be on exteriors. So that really means that lead's the only way for me. But I was kind of thrown in the deep end when I started working with stained glass, because there was a local classes being run within stained glass, and I was contacted by the people that had been running the classes, and they said, "Oh, would you come and teach this class?" And I've only been doing it for 6 months. Like, I don't really, it's all new to me. And they said, "Well, this class is going to get cancelled, and unless you take over, because we don't have anyone else in Sydney that will teach it." So I took over taking this class really, really early in, and I had to learn. Like, I hadn't done anything with copper foil before, because I was just so lead based, and I was working in lead studios, and then I kind of got there, and I had students that wanted to learn copper foil. So I thought, well, I better learn real quick how we do copper foil. So my only real experience with copper foil and the Tiffany method has been with learning it for my students at the time, so that I could teach them what they were doing. But I have been working with copper foil a bit recently, because I do have to put copper foil around my pieces of glass when I'm plating them, when I'm doing these layers that I'm putting into lead. But I know, I think there's so many talented people out there doing copper foil. They don't need another one. I'll stick over here with my lead.
Well, some of the pieces that you have done have been phenomenal. And you mentioned the opportunity to do some work while you were there in Wales, dealing with the library wagon. And if you don't mind, I would like to show that piece, or a clip of a video that you just released. Was it a couple week or? Yeah,
a week ago. Well, I think the library wagon installation, I think was a couple of months ago. Yeah, but my my now fiance Christian came along.
Congratulations!
Thank you. He's in the other room making a salad for dinner. But yeah, he came along, and he's really talented with filming things and editing things. And yeah, he came along, and he filmed things for filmed all this great footage of the day. We were so lucky that we got sun as well, because we were in Exeter, which is a part of England that doesn't get heaps of sunshine. So we were so lucky that he got beautiful footage and edited it together really lovely, and we have some sun in there, and you can see the whole thing like coming together, and it's nice for me to see it as well, because I look quite calm compared to how I was feeling.
Well, okay, let's take a look at it here real quick. Let me get everything going here. If it will go to it. There we go. There's your page. And if you guys go to her Instagram page, you can check out this video. It is an awesome video. Make sure up. Audio wasn't going there. Awesome. That is awesome.
Long day.
So you had all different techniques that you did with that piece. Oops. And it doesn't want to shut off. Are you hearing that sound?
No, I'm not hearing anything.
Oh, okay. It's just in my headphones then. There we go. But you said that you use different techniques as you were explaining it as you're going throughout that journey and creating that. Tell us, what type of techniques did you actually use?
Well, I think the main one that I really was into with the library wagon was acid etching, which I've spoken about a bit on my Instagram and everything, but it's actually illegal to do in Australia. But we have the facilities to do it over here on my residency. So I think I really wanted to take advantage of that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which it's really scary because it's hydrofluoric acid. So it's a calcium eating acid. So you might not necessarily feel if you have dropped a bit on you at the time, and then you'll wake up during the night screaming in pain because it's eating away the calcium and your bones shrinking. So it's
oh. That's a little scary.
Yeah, it's super scary. So I think I see why it's illegal in Australia. But I mean, over here we have the safe facilities, and we have a really wonderful technician at the college called Colin Telford, and he's the man that's in control of the acid base. So he gives you training and he makes sure you know how to use it, and you're in a safe environment doing it there. But yeah, that process really is getting glass that has more than one layer of it, and kind of using the acid to eat away one layer of the glass to reveal the color of the glass underneath. So I did a lot of that with the sun face and the moon face. They were both, the sun was a red sheet of glass with yellow glass underneath, and I ate away the red to do all that different tonal work in there.
Wow.
And then the moon was a blue sheet with clear glass underneath, and I used the acid to eat away. And that just took me ages because it's just like sometimes the top layer of the glass is just so thick that you just got to leave it in the acid for so long. So I think that moon face alone took me just a week of just like painting with wax, because I've got to control what parts I want to get lighter and what parts I want to get darker, and then I've kind of got to keep working at that for ages. And then so those acid etching was really the biggest thing that was new for me, and that I really needed to use with that piece, and a large reason why I was excited to do it and took it on, because I saw an opportunity to really properly experiment to like a high, what I hope to be a high quality, and I was really happy with it. So that, and then the usual things that I like to do, sandblasting, painting, doing the reinforcing bars. So that was tricky as well, because that was kind of, manipulating steel rods to go along the eye as well. So just everything that you could ever imagine, as usual with me, just anything that you could make it as difficult as possible and as hard and as many different techniques. I'm here for it.
Well, it turned out fantastic. So being called the library wagon, I'm assuming that it's just a wagon that's actually full of books that goes around that people would see and so forth.
I don't know if it's, I don't know. I hope, I don't think it's going to go around too much, but it will be, so my client, Will, is a psychotherapist, and it will be his library wagon and his space for and writing and reflecting and meditating on things. But I think he will also be doing some, private sessions with people in there. So I think when we were talking about this, the feeling of trying to create something for a client, and that being a bit of a collaborative process, I think I really, from spending time with, and speaking with Will, I just kind of knew with that project, it was really important that it was kind of a really like quite a mystical, but also like a really calming piece. I wanted there to be a lot of kind of like energy infused in it, and a real empowerment to it as well, because I like the idea of maybe people having a hard time reflecting on things, and clients that he might be seeing, kind of looking at that window and, feeling like they're capable of breaking a cycle, and just that there's so much more out there for everyone. And I like the idea of Will just sitting there with his many leather-bound books, writing his notes, and just looking at that window and kind of, you know, feeling like something speaks to him. So I do really love that piece, and yeah, it will be moving around a little bit, and it's very well reinforced, so it should be safe.
Great. Awesome. So there was one other piece that I saw on your website that I thought was just fantastic. I mean, like I said, all are fantastic, but this really stood out to me. And you mentioned it earlier about being in an aquatic area, and it was the well window that you put in a home, I guess back home.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show that one real quick. I mean, it is astonishing. The detail and the type of work that have gone into it, and to make it mush all together. Here it is looking at night.
Oh, it's fun at night.
Wow, it's very beautiful when you look at it at night. People can go and actually check out your site, and you kind of written a little bit about it in your on your site. And how, so can you kind of just share with us your you know, how you came about that window and doing it?
I was actually so lucky with that because I was actually, that was when I was still trying to kind of get out on my own, because I was working for myself with glass, but I was also doing just like a couple of bar shifts at a friend's bar as well. And we just had this really lovely, like really, really lovely regular that came in called Kev, and he found out that I was, doing stained glass, and he said, "Oh, I'm doing some renovations to my house, and I'd love to get, a window." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, that'll be great." But I don't, until I know something that's definitely locked in. I think a lot of people love stained glass, and a lot of people will say, "Oh, oh yeah, I'd love to get something." And I'm always like, "Oh yeah, that's really nice." Like, of course, like, but I think, 9 times out of 10, it's just a lovely idea for them. But yeah, Kev followed up, and he's just the nicest guy, and his wife and himself are really passionate about the marine environment. And I've actually gone to Antarctica a couple of times to volunteer helping protect whales from poaching. And so they said, "Well, we want something with whales." I think he said, "I either want something with cricket or I want something with whales." And I said, "Well, whales is much more my vibe, and I don't know how I'm sure there'd be a way to make a beautiful window about the sport of cricket, but might not be as enjoyable for me." So we went with the whales. Luckily, we went with the whales. And yeah, I love, like, I mean, that's another reason why I'm really big on the lead, I think, and less taken with the Tiffany method, is because of this. I love this idea of creating large imagery over several different windows, which is a huge architectural sort of thing. So I think with that, like, that's the reason I love lead, is it works like that, where it's like, yeah, just doing this huge, like, mama humpback whale and her baby, and it's kind of over these. I mean, that was over 5 windows. So the central one is one large window, and then there's 2 little ones on either side. So yeah, I kind of, that was hard to do the SketchUp full size as well, which was pretty hard. I just remember, I should have sent you a photo, but there's just a photo of me like trying to sketch it out all on our living room floor back home, and then my dog's just trying to like crawl all over it while I'm just there like with a big charcoal just trying to draw it all out. But yeah, I was so lucky. I got that one done just before Christmas, which was Christmas of 2019. So yeah, just a couple of weeks before I moved here. So I got to go and install and have a look at it with my mom, and it's nice. Yeah, I can just walk past it and see it when I'm home, which will be lovely.
Yeah. So with the with people, and with my channel, I just share what I learn and what I've been as my journey, because I'm always learning. I'm far from being, a top level artist, or, I just hope to achieve, a level of competency in doing stained glass as I continue with my journey. What advice would you give somebody who is kind of first looking and starting out in stained glass. And, what is Hannah Gregory's advice to a fellow stained glass artist or a new artist coming in to work with stained glass?
It's so funny. I get in so two minds about that because I think I'm quite, I don't know, I'm quite tough love. So I think one of I think I'm both from just with anything in life, I'm just like, you're capable. So be confident, be capable, know that you can do this. But then also I'm just, my advice is also just get it done. So I'm somewhere, but I'm just very much I want everyone to feel confident that they can. Not even with stained glass. I think I want all people to feel like if they love something, they can pursue it and they can feel confident, and that you're the one that knows how far that you can take something. And that's really on you. Don't let anyone make you feel like something's a hobby if it's not a hobby to you. Don't let someone diminish your achievements. Don't stress about that. But at the same time, don't make a million excuses for yourself of, oh, well, I can't, this or that, or I'm just kind of if you are going to go for it, then just go for it. And yeah, you might have to live off not very much. And you might, and that is for me, that is said with a massive amount of privilege of not having the responsibilities of children or a mortgage or anything like that. So I do think I'm very understanding in the fact that comes from a position of privilege and freedom of being I can just be this is my everything. But yeah, I would say just knowing that you're capable, and a massive advice of just do it to the best of if you're going to do something, do it to the best of your capability, because it's just a waste of your life. Take it easy on yourself while you're learning. See, I'm all full of all these contradicting things. Take it easy on yourself, but also if you're going to do all these different stages of your cutting or your grinding, if you're doing the Tiffany method, and you're building, and then and then get to your soldering or something, and then you're oh, well, that will do. It's well, you've already put in this many hours to it. Do it well. But I also think a big thing is, don't compare yourself to other people as well. I think all my advice with getting into glass is my advice with just anyone and trying to be happy in yourself. Don't compare your work to, or don't even some of the work that I'm the most proud of a lot of the time, or things that I'm the most excited about that I share on Instagram, aren't the works that as many people are, resonate with or as excited about. And that's fine, because we're all different people, and, going oh, is that work not as good as that other work because not as many people like that? It's that's just a waste of your time. So just getting into glass, just do it and just persevere, and just note your improvements and feel really positive about your improvements. And if it is just a hobby to you, then feel really proud of yourself of being someone that is making your life prettier and nicer and more interesting because you have a hobby. And if you want it to be more of a hobby, don't let anyone make you feel like it's a hobby.
Awesome advice. Thank you. That is great. Well, how about telling everybody where they can find your information, and where they can, maybe, hook up with you as far as, if they got questions, if you don't mind answering questions, which I don't think you've answered some of my questions when I've messaged you. But
I answer everyone's questions all the time. I don't mind. Sometimes if I forget, I feel awful. If someone sent me a message, and say if I'm really busy and I see it on Instagram, I'll be oh, I'll reply soon. And then if I forget, I just feel so awful. So I do like answering questions, because I just love the medium so much. And so if anyone does ever need help, I try to make sure that I can answer things. But yeah, I'm on Instagram, which is it's almost like I'm just checking it on my phone now, but I know what I am. I'm at badass. Well, you guys say badass stained glass. In Australia, we say badass stained glass. But yeah, at badass stained glass on the Instagram. And then I'm pretty sure my website is www.hannahgregoryglass.com. I'm pretty sure that's it. You can tell how often I'm just always plugging myself, and I think I think those are the only places I exist. But now I exist on this now too, so you can find me here. You can find me here talking to Steve.
And I appreciate you coming on today. This has been an awesome interview, and I have greatly appreciate you taking the time out and doing this interview with us.
Oh, no problem at all. I think it's really great. I think it's really great the enthusiasm that you are approaching your stained glass with, and I think that's awesome. And I think that's what I think everybody at every level should, be encouraging and communicating and just being excited about all of us just sharing in it together. And I said thank you for being so enthusiastic and for getting the bug and just going, oh well, this is what I'm doing now.
Well, thank you. So we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. So everybody, if you want to check out Hannah's channel, make sure you go to those links in the description below. And I appreciate everybody who has supported the channel by subscribing. And if you're watching this on the replay and you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so that you'll get notified when I do more of these Artist Spotlight interviews. I am working on a couple other interviews for August and for September and October. So in those dates and those artists will be released here as soon as I get some dates solidified on those. So I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight, and I'll see you on the next live stream. Thanks a lot.